The FDA Food Safety Modernization Act, FSMA. It's a four-letter word for importers. Hello, I'm Jason Huffman, Editor-in-Chief of Food Chemical News. Welcome to the Knife and Fork Show. Regardless of whether you believe enough of the food being imported from other countries is safe or not, Congress apparently didn't think so. At the end of 2010, they passed FSMA, FSMA, which gives the FDA some pretty grand marching orders, especially for guaranteeing the safety of food coming from other countries. As a result of the law, the FDA will be increasing its inspections and stepping up its presence in other countries, making sure their factories that send food to the United States comply with our standards. It's a big undertaking, and it's not making food company executives or government officials in these other countries very happy. Here to break this down with us is Ben England, a former 17-year FDA official who is now the president of FDAimports.com, a Columbia, Maryland firm situated right between Baltimore and Washington that has helped hundreds of companies get their food products into the United States. Ben, you've studied these regulations pretty thoroughly and even met with some FDA officials. Is FSMA really a dirty word for importers?
Yeah, you know, the importers that know about it, I think, yes. I think it's probably pretty surprising that my clients will know about it, right? Clients of FDAimports.com, your readers, Food Chemical News, are going to know about it.
Absolutely.
Right, but there's so many companies out there that are small businesses that they're just trying to do their work. And foreign companies that are just trying to get product in the United States and get it out of their countries, that they're not even paying attention, they're not even aware of it. There's a lot of companies, I believe, that are not even conscious of this.
That's really surprising. I mean, the FDA has been having meetings in Washington and Silver Spring, in their office in Silver Spring, for some time now, several meetings. We've been writing about it, we've seen it, other press cover this. I can't believe that it's not just everywhere and not everybody knows about it. The foreign governments know about it, correct?
Right, that's correct. Yeah, the foreign governments know about it because there's so many sort of requirements that are going to eventually that go to the FDA in order to work with foreign governments. So the FDA has reached out to them, and FDA is trying to reach out to the industry, but it's a huge industry. There's just so many people in it. They've not reached everybody.
When you talk to one of your clients and they find out for the first time, maybe you've already educated all of your clients, but when you have done that, what's their reaction when you start telling them about what's in FSMA? What do they normally say?
It's usually, oh my gosh.
Is it another swear word?
Yeah, there was another swear word. Like, what the heck, right? I mean, it's pretty amazing. They're pretty surprised when they read through it.
Yeah. Okay, so you've looked at FSMA, you've studied it thoroughly. What is the single biggest provision or most troublesome provision for importers?
Yeah, it would be the Foreign Supplier Verification Program aspect of it. And what FDA is going to be required to do by Congress's mandate is to change the way food imports are evaluated with respect to safety. Right now, the foreign manufacturer is responsible, the FDA is responsible. But under the Foreign Supplier Verification Program, the U.S. importer is going to become like the food cop. They're going to be responsible for verifying that their foreign supplier is in compliance with FDA requirements. And if they don't, then the hammer comes down on the importer as hard as it does on the foreign supplier. So it really puts them sort of in this enforcement role which they've never had before.
Right. Now, a lot of these regulations have not seen the light of day yet. We're still waiting for them. But is there any advice that you're giving importers to prepare now?
Yeah, a lot of the requirements that FDA will come out with, I expect, will be not unlike the requirements that are already built into the seafood industry. The seafood uses a program called the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point, or HACCP. And probably the primary processing aspect of FSMA is called the Hazard Analysis Risk-Based Preventive Controls, or HARP-C. And they're very, very similar.
Thanks for spelling that out, by the way.
Yeah. They're easy. They're very close to each other. So if you have familiarity with HACCP, then you probably are going to be able to sort of like start the process for HARP-C. And then the importer is going to be looking to the foreign supplier to be doing that, so that importer can already be thinking about how they're going to verify that the foreign supplier is in compliance with the HARP-C requirements.
Now, you mentioned the Foreign Equivalency Program. What else is in FSMA that's going to cause ulcers for importers?
You know, I think there's a sort of a time ticking bomb in there, and it has to do with, most of the hazard analysis risk-based requirements have to do with food safety, but there's also a provision in there that gives FDA and Customs the authority to create food security requirements, and that has to be built in as well to the plan. And FDA is not used to actually doing food security, so they're going to write regs to require someone how to protect your food from some kind of a terrorist attack. And it's going to affect the entire supply chain. Shippers, freight forwarders, exporters, customs brokers, people who don't usually have to think about the quality or the safety of the product are going to have to be built into the security plan of importers.
One of the parts of FSMA that I think is troublesome for importers, my guess is, that they have to meet these standards across the board. So there are provisions that are written specifically for importers, and then there are these standards that say that basically you have to comply with essentially US standards in general. So the produce standards, for example, are the produce standards going to be troublesome for importers?
I think probably not as much as for processed foods, and it's because most of the produce suppliers are already under good agricultural practice, not requirements, but guidance that FDA implements. And I would expect that the standards would not be that different from those requirements. And the industry's already worked with the FDA to try to develop some of these standards. So it's sort of known in the produce industry what the requirements would be.
Now, I think FSMA there's dozens of provisions in FSMA, but I think there are probably 6 or 7 that are significant and substantial, right? Roughly.
That's right.
And a lot of those, or several of those, were actually required in January of 2011.
That's right.
2012. And also several were required in July of 2012. But we haven't seen any of them.
Yeah.
And you know, what's the holdup? Why don't we have these regulations out now?
Yeah, FDA's official word is that they've got the regs into Office of Management Budget and that they're working very vigorously on it. The sort of unspoken assumption is that it's more political, that there's a sphere of issuing these regulations before the election in November. So if it comes out, if the regs come out before the election, expect them to be tempered. In other words, sort of not so rigorous. If they come out after the election and the Obama administration is coming back in, expect them to be very, very rigorous. If the Romney campaign, if the Romney candidate wins, then if Romney wins, then you can expect the regulations to also be very, very vigorous, but Romney's people will have the chance to sort of walk them back through the comment and
they don't really own
process.
them. They kind of inherited them.
Yeah, they can sort of pare them back. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen if? Well, I mean, we're trying to guess who's going to win the presidential election at this point.
Right.
That's a tough guess to make.
Right.
But let's say Obama wins.
Yeah.
So you think the regulations won't come out till after the election?
I think no matter what, they won't come out till after the election.
And then we're likely to see, if Obama wins, some tougher standards.
No matter what. Actually, I think you'll see tougher standards no matter what. The question is, if Romney wins, will he pare it back? Because he would have the ability then, through the review and comment process, in the regulatory process, to say, oh yeah, you're right, that is kind of rough, so let's back it off.
Okay. All right, well, I think we're out of time again. Thanks to my great guest for 3 consecutive segments, Ben England, and thanks to my wonderful crew. We'll be back soon and put another food regulation personality in the spotlight. If you have trouble finding us, just go to www.foodchemicalnews.com, where we plan to make these videos available. Thanks for watching.